Now you might be thinking, well, hold up, Mr. Nitro, you just spent the last 20 some odd minutes listing all the problems with the Star Wars sequel trilogy, despite having only experienced 1/3 of it. How and why is Spider-Man Homecoming worse than the sequel trilogy? And my answer to that is, well, because Spider-Man Homecoming pissed me off more. Because unlike the sequel trilogy, I was expecting more from the MCU's first Spider-Man movie. I was expecting improvement. The only way you can fix the sequel trilogy is to throw it into the nearest trash compactor, throw the trash compactor into the damn sun, and start over. Hire a storyteller, bring George Lucas on as a story consultant, work out a plan, adapt the expanded universe, go into animated media, recast when necessary, and don't screw up. Spider-Man Homecoming, on the other hand, fails on damn near every level whatsoever, but its sequel could have been brilliant if a few things were switched around and certain elements were discarded in favor of getting us into the mindset of Peter Parker as Spider-Man, irrespective of whatever bullshit relationship the movie wants you to believe he has with Tony Stank. I mean, that's one of the main things that pisses me off the most about the MCU Spider-Man movies. Amazing Spider-Man 2 was a frustrating sequel to The Amazing Spider-Man, and with the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, we had 3 movies where Peter Parker is a hopeless romantic on his best days and a homicidal muppet on his worst days, black suit be damned, who doesn't really accomplish anything on his own, save for that nonsensical train sequence in the second movie, and the scene where he rescues a baby from a burning building in the first movie, which I suppose is something, but it's not enough. We still don't have enough scenes of Peter Parker fighting crime and saving people as Spider-Man in that movie. And no, that weak-ass montage doesn't count. And Homecoming and Far From Home both suffer from the same problem the Raimi trilogy has, and it's a problem that's not as obvious to most of its fans. Namely, Peter doesn't seem like a guy who cares about people, and he's a secondary character in his own damn story. It's all about the villains, who I don't care about, and the protagonist, for the most part, takes a back seat. And because of that, we don't get to see what a day in the life of being Spider-Man, the crime fighter, is like for Peter. It's an unspoken rule in the Raimi trilogy, and Spider-Man Homecoming seems too to break it, or to let Peter Parker make his own choices or stand by his convictions. And by this point, I am sick and tired of it being a problem. And the only reason I'm comparing Homecoming to these movies is because I'm expecting improvement. One of the more recent defenses I often hear about the MCU Spider-Man trilogy is that it's basically an origin story for the Spider-Man we know and love. There's just one problem. My response to that is threefold. A, that's not how origin stories work. I know less about what makes this version of Peter Parker tick than I did in the Raimi trilogy, and he kinda gets his nuts cut off 4 times in a row and doesn't have any say in the matter, making it harder for me to care about him as a person. Forget not wearing a seatbelt, for most of his run, the stupid bastard doesn't even have a chair. 2. Origin stories that take place over the course of 3 films, let alone an entire series, are a dime a dozen. It's half the reason the Star Wars prequel trilogy got a bad reputation. It's half the reason people didn't care all that much for Quantum of Solace, despite that movie being a far superior follow-up to Casino Royale than and it's half the reason the aforementioned Star Trek Into Darkness pissed everyone off. And D, no matter what excuse John Watts gives me, the fact of the matter is we are 3.5 movies in with the MCU version of Peter Parker, and I'm still not convinced that this punk-ass kid is Spider-Man. I haven't seen him be the guy who would say you can't be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man if there's no neighborhood. Oh, and spoiler alert for the MCU version of May Parker, I'm glad she's dead. Not only is she completely useless to Peter's development, she's also a straight up clown. I cared about Amazing Spider-Man's Aunt May, but I don't give 2 fucks about this Aunt May, any more than I feel the weight of Peter Parker dying in Avengers Infinity War. When I saw that, I wasn't thinking, holy crap, they just killed Spider-Man. Instead, I'm thinking, wow, you people really don't give a damn about Peter Parker, do you? Never mind that her death in Spider-Man No Way Home is just a rehash of Ben Parker's death from the first Spider-Man movie, and I already gave that coward-ass motherfucker a piece of my mind. And if you think I'm gonna stop calling him out on that, or if you think I'm gonna let this Aunt May off the hook for that, we should probably get to know each other better. Her death in Spider-Man No Way Home is supposed to be the catalyst for Peter Parker's wake-up call about what it means to be Spider-Man, again, but based on what I know about these 2 characters, I have no reason to believe that Peter has learned a damn thing by the end of that 3rd film, or that any of the lessons he supposedly learned are going to stick with him moving forward. Not that I ever had a reason to be invested in his development in the first place. If I haven't made myself clear by now, I don't like or care about this version of Peter Parker, and a large part of why I don't like or care about this version of Peter Parker comes down to the fact that this version of Peter Parker has no dick! Really? Hey, that's just what I heard. Whoa, time out. Who the hell are you? You don't want to know. Oh, for freaking sake. Is this some sort of half-assed time travel situation? No, it's a full-ass time travel situation. And no, I don't want to talk about which one it is. Before you ask, no, I didn't use the Speed Force. I'm not going to tell you what I did use because wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey nonsense. You do realize that by talking to me about this, you're making the future change, don't you? And this is why I don't put time travel in any of my stories. Well, mostly. Fine, whatever. Play Wheels on the Bus and get the hell out of my review. Where'd he go? Rude motherfucker. I heard that. I thought you were gone. Anyway, where was I? And it all rings so damn empty anyway, because that's not what the last two movies have been about. It hasn't been about Peter Parker learning the responsibility moral, even though he supposedly already learned that. It hasn't been about Peter Parker learning to be Spider-Man. It's been 7.5 motherfucking hours of 2 damn movies telling me that Peter Parker is destined to be the next Iron Man, while simultaneously demonstrating why he sucks at it. And I think it should go without saying, but I'm gonna say it anyway. That's retarded and is not compatible with the idea of Spider-Man, let alone with Peter Parker. I hated Spider-Man Homecoming. I don't like or care about this version of Peter Parker. I don't like this person. He's not fun to be around. All 2 of his villains are discount Iron Man villains, and with the exception of Michelle, his supporting cast feels like they fell out of a Saturday Night Live skit. I don't want to spend any more time around this punk-ass teenager, and it especially doesn't help that he's a punk-ass teenager. Telling me that this entire trilogy is supposed to be an origin story certainly doesn't help your case, because why the hell would I want to spend 3 films waiting for this version of Peter Parker to become Spider-Man? I thought this little motherfucker was supposed to stand up for the little guy, supposedly. That's what we're told in Captain America Civil War. So yeah, the idea of this entire trilogy being an origin story for Spider-Man, that's bullshit. I do not believe you when you tell me that. You are telling me all the lies. Quite frankly, it would be inaccurate for me to call this a Spider-Man movie because it's not. Much like the Raimi trilogy, but for entirely different reasons, Spider-Man is not really a character here. Spider-Man doesn't mean anything to anyone. He has no presence in the MCU inside or outside of his own story. He's not a friend, he's not a foe, he's barely a nuisance, he's just a damn side note. And if there's one thing you don't want Spider-Man to be in the MCU, it's a side note. I didn't want a standalone Spider-Man movie set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe if all you're going to do is turn him into Iron Boy Jr. Tony Stark already has a sidekick, he doesn't need another. And he especially doesn't need this guy to be his sidekick either. Tony, I promise you, Rhodey will live to fight another day. Don't waste time dragging another metahuman into your vanity project, especially if you're not going to do anything about the bastards who are stealing from you. You get the idea. To paraphrase Major Payne, Spider-Man Homecoming made my Agent Orange act up, and I got the urge to kill. And any movie that has the capacity to make me feel that way deserves to go down in history as the worst movie of the 2010s. Also, can we please get rid of the damn Homecoming title? Not only does it have nothing to do with the plot, it's also hard not to see it as false advertising, because Spider-Man, at least the way I've come to understand Spider-Man, does not in any way, shape, or form come home to the MCU. At least not in the way the movie wants me to believe that he does. Also, enough with the home titles, John Watts. You know and I know these movies have never had anything to do with Spider-Man being home or having a home. Period. So knock it off. Okay, this video took far too long for me to get out there than I would have liked, and that's 100% all my fault. I meant to have this video out by last year, but let's just say mistakes were made the year before that one, and because of that, there were too many things that got in the way that prevented me from moving forward on production with this video. I can't promise that it won't happen again, but I'll try to find the time for more videos. But anyways, what do you all think of my top 10 worst movies of the 2010s list? Do you agree or disagree with my assessment? If there's a movie in this list that you like, feel free to leave me a comment explaining to me why you like it. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay up to date. For Cinematographic Studios, I'm Mr. Nitro. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.